you, Tom.
Yeah. Nice little break, no snow plowing today. No trucking through the snow, no, the gloves on if you're outside.
We lived down where the system on Sue.
Sorry, from,
Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud.
Okay. We live right now. Three of us?
No, okay, yeah.
So,
You, Paul, Jeff.
cooler.
yeah, I don't.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah, with that. Oh, and John. John is somewhere in there.
Oh.
Because he is in quarantine.
On Sunday, we went over and picked the garbage bag.
Yeah.
And
We just did
I do that in
he
the
has
spring
not
around our
logged in
neighborhood.
though yet.
Makes no sense other than trucks driving.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. There's two items on the agenda, and I guess the first one, we'll turn it over to Ellen.
Okay, yeah, real quick, just a reminder that there are annual training hours that are required for planning commissioners. I did send out some links in August for some training opportunities that occurred this fall, and then updated that with some training opportunities at the beginning of this month. There will be more opportunities, of course, in the new year. Planning commissioners are required by the state to have 4 training hours per year. And my conversation with Greg was that that is not something in his purview in terms of the idea of enforcement of that. So I will be taking that on, and so you can just report to me when you participated in the training and what it was, and so I will track those hours. And so you have until December 31st, 2022 to fulfill those 4 hours. And if there's questions or issues with that, just let me know, and I will keep you updated with those opportunities. So.
Things like that historical preservation
Mhm.
seminar, does that
Yeah,
count?
yeah, absolutely, yep, yeah. Yeah, so, again, if there's questions right now, I'm happy to take them, otherwise, you know how to find me, and drop me a line if there's.
Are the trainings all online?
The ones that I've come across so far, since I've been here, yeah. I don't know if that was always the case pre-COVID, or whether that's kind of become,
All the ones that I've done. were
yeah,
through the
standard
site.
operating procedure, just in general in the digital age. But I think, you know, on the upside, if they are digital, you know, sit back on a Thursday night and go through your webinar for an hour and take that down, so, yeah,
All right,
I think that's it.
thank you.
Yeah,
All right, well, and now we'll turn it over to the North Main Street Gateway sign.
excellent.
Alright. My name is Bob Nordine. I am an architect with CPL here in Jamestown. We've been working on this sign with the Rotary for at least 2 years, going back and forth with initial concepts through a lot of different things. You have, from the Rotary, why don't you guys introduce yourself to stuff?
My name's Mike Roberts, and I've been a member of the Rotary Club for about 27 years or something like that.
Kevin Sixby, I'm the current president of the club.
So, with the Rotary, we've had conversations with the city, we've had a number of participants, number of meetings going through concepts on what can be done. We put together a plan for a sign using materials from the city. There are some steel trusses that are being reused from a pedestrian bridge here in town. There are some oak logs that we're looking at using that were from the 3rd Street oak trees. There's some brick pavers from streets around town. And we put a concept together to reuse these without being outlandish, without interfering with any of the adjacent properties. There's a sign across the street from the cemetery. We tried to blend with that. So we weren't standing out too bad with what we were doing. But we did want the sign to be noticeable. So we've developed a concept to put it in here, which has all been sent to all of you for your review. We do have an updated rendering that we did that I'd like to just pass around. It updates just a few of the comments that have been passed to us through the city and some of our more recent meetings to get in there. So, it's really all I've got on the sign. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything to what we're doing. But,
I've seen it.
I'll add something, because Rob was too polite. We've been working on this sign for 25 years.
Sure.
We weren't able to find a site for it, because we wanted it on the west side of Main Street. And Gary Lynn owns the property, first parcel coming into the city. And as of about a year and a half ago, worked with us to donate an easement for us to put the sign on his property, which was huge. It's our site, the sign, and making this thing come to fruition. Right. So, much thanks to Gary.
it was a lot easier to develop a sign when you have a site for it.
To speak quickly to Rotary's involvement, we identified about 2 years ago, as we were celebrating our 100th anniversary, that this would be an ideal centennial project for us to provide some funding for. And Rotary's been engaged here for a century and supported the city in a number of different ventures. We thought this kind of highlighted both past and future growth in the city of Jamestown.
Is there room to put, say we wanna put sidewalks in here down the road, is there still enough room to do that? If there's any plans to do
The
that?
city is planning on putting in sidewalks from the city line up to where the sidewalk starts in front of the north.
Right.
Yeah, that's part of the ultimate plan and go down next year. I don't know if you've noticed it, but we filled in that area this year, and we're just waiting for the compaction.
This one obstructed everything, or
No,
not?
no, it's a good question.
The only thing the rendering doesn't do for you is the landscape has certainly changed already in that there's not as many trees as you see there. We've cleared out some of those trees, and that sidewalk easement is already, I mean, it's there now. We had, Jeff was kind enough to have somebody mock up one for just trying to get the idea of what the size of the sign would be, and about 12 of us went out there, and we used a cardboard rendering of very similar to what you see there, remarkably, and we think that Bob hit it spot on with the size of the unit and how it would be placed. It's really going to be something. Certainly our idea is that you drive to Jamestown, New York from Topeka, Kansas to come to the National Comedy Center. This might be your first stop. So get a picture. That's why New York is important for us on the sign, because there's multiple Jamestowns, but there's only one Jamestown, New York.
There are 30 Jamestowns to be exact.
There we go. There we go. 30 Jamestowns. Now we know.
But only one Jamestown, New York. I will also contribute some of the context of the design, as this went through many iterations, through many discussions over this as well. And one of the kind of junctures that we were at were ideas that would be evocative to represent the city. And so the very background kind of represents the idea of a cityscape or a skyline kind of idea. And then, of course, we have the trusses that are probably somewhat self-evident, but they provide a nice transition to the work of the brick. But in terms of how that has been designed, it kind of suggests our winding Chattahoochee River with that as well. So we have all of those things represented.
How are we approaching the other entries to the city?
What do you mean?
Well, this is up on North Main.
So this is going to be North Main, yeah?
And there's a lot of traffic that comes in from the south, and the east, and the west, not
Yeah.
on every road.
Yeah, I can't say that we've really tackled those as an action item.
It's a
Specifically?
25-year plan.
Yeah.
We've looked at all of those. We've surveyed every one of those. Most of the city entrances have signs. You can't imagine how many streets pull you into the city of Jamestown. Not just Foot Avenue, but North Main and Baker Street, Fairmount Avenue, Fluvanna Avenue, they all do. Most of those significant ones have the green city sign that we now see at North Main.
Right. This is prettier.
And that is much prettier.
Yeah.
Whether we would ever go on to, from Rotary's perspective, whether we would go on and do other signs, I don't know that. We're just, so let's talk next step for this.
Yeah. Well, my question wasn't a criticism of what the amount that you're doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was just a recognition, I think, of the fact that there's a lot of people that come to Jamestown, not every day,
Oh, sure.
but they come in on all these other routes.
Well, I would make the argument, I've always made the argument, having owned property on Fluvanna Avenue at one time, that Fluvanna Avenue makes the most sense for bringing traffic into the city of Jamestown versus bringing it in on North Main Street through a residential area. I mean, at least you have a 2-lane road that brings you in until you get to Strunk Road. I don't know that the city or the state or the county would ever widen Strunk Road into actually it's Washington Street and out Fluvanna Avenue where you would come in off of Strunk Road. That's the natural way you would expect moving a lot of traffic into Jamestown would be. Probably would be a very natural place. Some of those things, I mean, Rotary had entrance signs at 3 or 4 significant locations. We're down to none now. I can speak to the one on Foot Avenue that, there's a Sertoma sign there that Sertoma doesn't exist anymore in Jamestown. So some of those areas do need some attention, but today we're talking about North Main Street.
No, and I recognize that, I just wanted to throw the question in, because a sign like this is, at least from the way I look at it, it's very attractive. It's going to attract the eyeball to look at it. Some of the other signs are nice, but they're also on high-traffic streets. And they really, at least in my mind, do not attract the attention to really look at them. And I've noticed that when I've gone into other cities too, a small sign doesn't really grab your attention. You know, a plain color sign.
Sure.
Right.
Like this is
And
gonna
the
grab your
the
attention.
greatest
and make you
challenge
think
that
more
we
about
have faced
things.
is the physical property to set those signs up.
Yeah, that could be a little bit.
They're
of,
very hard to come by.
Oh, yes. It'd take a little bit of work on, I'm gonna say, government kind of taking over a little bit more on the corner.
Right.
If you look at Front Avenue,
True.
I think that's all.
But it might be a good
Property
investment
development.
depending on how it's sold to the city.
Well, I think once we can get this one implemented, then we can start to consider conversations about other gateways in the city and what's useful, what's relevant for those, to either kind of share the spotlight or, you know, hold their own as respective gateways
Yeah.
as well. But yeah, we're definitely aware that North Main Street is not the only kind of unofficial or official gateway to
No.
the city. It makes a statement. I think some of the consideration besides just having, an acceptable site, to do it was the idea that it's also off, 86 and 60, so in terms of visitors that are coming from those directions.
No, it's a good idea, and not arguing about that, you know, I'm not negative on it at all. I just think it's good, it's a quiet, loud piece of advertising. And, I mean, the reality is, everything we do now that makes Jamestown a little bit more noticeable is going to be a good thing. And when I look at Jamestown from where we were, when I was working at City Hall, running the Brooklyn Square project as to now, things have changed dramatically. We definitely need people to look at Jamestown as a place where they want to be, or at least the area. So that's what brings it up.
Yeah, I got a question. Are you gonna have lights for this?
There are some lights within the sign,
Okay.
and a couple in front, a couple in back, so that it is well lit,
Good.
so you can see the sign.
Yeah, I think it's gorgeous. I wanna ask, what is the contribution of the Rotary Club? 'Cause I wanna say thank you first, but do you have a figure that?
Well, we could talk about next steps.
Okay.
Should and if you were to move forward with accepting this design, we are in conversations with a general contractor, because of Bob's work, we have a working drawing that we can get an estimate from. This falls into the under the coverage of our leadership, or our vision committee, which will choose the project and designate a fund amount. We really don't know what the sign's gonna cost at this point. I can speak, on behalf of the Rotary and say that the city and Jeff's department have done everything they can in helping us along in this, endeavor. We would hope that, we've asked this general contractor not just to provide us with a price, but to provide us with a list of materials and a list of what subcontractors they would want to use, because certainly our direction would be is that many hands make light work, and we're not shy. We would have to go out and ask for funding. I think we can honestly say that we have targeted at least 10,000 in real dollars from Rotary, and then that we would use that and leverage foundations, individual givers, subcontractors. we have a number of people. We've already spoken to people about picking up the wood, cutting it, and doing the prep work for that. We would be expecting to do the same thing. These metal trusses are 30 feet long, 18, 24 inches high. That's not, you don't run over there with a pickup and throw them in the back. So we're looking to, we're looking to be able to use our contacts to involve the community in what would really be a community project.
We have as a part of our club, the Rotary Club of Jamestown Community Service Fund, which is our 501c3, and that way we can accept donations for the sign project, whether it's cash donations or in-kind services.
Good, yeah, I agree, it's a real, like I said, it's a real statement piece, this is, I think it's a perfect location for it. And it might inspire other, like you said, in other locations, to do something maybe similar, smaller, or, I don't know, but.
Is there power supply close by?
Yeah.
John, you have anything?
I don't know, this is. Oh.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I think it's a great idea, and I thank the Rotary Club and Mr. Roberts for bringing this to the city. I really like the design, and I think that it'll make our primary entry point to the city much more inviting and aesthetically pleasing. And so, I don't have any questions.
All right.
City staff is all supporting.
Affirmative.
Need a motion to,
So move.
are we just approving the design, or recommending the design?
Approving the design and recommending the city council.
Recommending the city council, all right.
Yeah,
And Jeff,
so move. Yeah,
the second?
that's a good move.
The second? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you, guys, very much. Huh?
The vote was carried in that.
No, thank you, guys.
Thanks, man.
This is really nice.
Appreciate you coming.
Yeah, that would be interesting, I saw.
And no other business?
No other business this month.
Did somebody appoint Mr. Roberts to the planning commission?
We just did. I don't live in the city, John.
We'll make an exception.
I'm not sure I can be on it.
Lots of nice houses in the city, right, Ben?
Andre.
There you go.
All right, the meeting is adjourned.
Good to see you, my friend. Be well.